with 3 guaranteed incomes, both your Social Securities plus the pension, the way you two spend money, if you guys are getting 37% of Mike's pension, that covers every penny of your expenses. You need to take more risk with your investments. What do you think about that, Shannon?
Just the thought of it, I don't know why, because again, I don't really understand I don't know why it makes me nervous, but the fact that put my faith in people who know more than me, being you and Mike. You do it for a living. If you say it, then I believe it.
I'm not going to buy that. We're going to come back to that. I'm putting that on the list because I'm going to help you understand investments. I am not going to let you just trust Mike and I.
Okay.
All right. Our rule is you only invest in things you understand. Okay. If you don't understand it, I'll make you sit in cash because you understand that until you understand the investments. Because the problem is, if you just start following anyone blindly, you don't have a plan. That's where we get the Madoffs of the world that can, screw people over.
Welcome to the Childfree Wealth Podcast, hosted by Bree and Dr. J, certified financial planner. Here we discuss life and finances as it relates to being child-free. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please consult your advisor before implementing any ideas heard on this podcast.
All right, so it's been a little over a month since I saw you. How you two doing? Anything fun happened in the past month?
Anything fun? A lot of discussion after we last met about comments you made and stuff. So I think we had fun thinking about goals and things we want to do, which we still don't really have solidified. But
yeah, I was gonna say, did anything stick?
Say some things.
Yeah, some things. Partly, we talked about, we had the goal of paying off the mortgage by the end of the year. We kind of reassessed that, and we kind of agree with you where we're shooting for the end of April now or early May to be able to. So, and to have enough savings left over too. But
like we could be doing that, the next time we talk, we're like, all right, we're going to burn the mortgage and, own the house. Why'd you decide that?
I ran some calculations and how much we're spending and how much we're saving. And if we pay it off early, it's not really going to affect us too much, but like by any means, like as far as like what we have in the accounts. And we'll still have like a very comfortable amount on the side for emergencies or whatever. Yeah, just kind of reassess like the calculations and how much we're saving and spending.
Nice. Did you figure out what your monthly expenses are overall?
We kind of did. I started to track it, and then Mike realized that our bank does it for us, and it was pretty close to the way I was tracking it too. Maybe with some slight differences, like it couldn't differentiate between our expenses for our dogs, say, but for the most part, it was pretty close. So, but I don't recall it like exactly.
I think it said for February at least. I think it was like $3,500 was our expenses, but that includes the mortgage and things like that. But also doesn't include like
$3,500 including the mortgage seems a little low. Your mortgage is $1,500, so you're saying you spent only $2,000 on everything else.
Yeah, we only spent like $500 on groceries. We didn't really buy anything else.
All right, I gotta teach you too how to spend some money.
Yeah, I know. We went out to eat a couple times. It was, $100 and something bucks, maybe. I don't know. And it wasn't much.
We don't feel like we're holding back either necessarily. So
we also think that was probably like a lesser spent month than normal too. Like I don't think we bought anything on Amazon or maybe a couple things, but no other home projects or anything like that.
So if we say $2,500 a month plus your mortgage, that's probably a good thing to go.
Probably, yeah.
I'm trying to get a fake number so we can like play with it and see where it goes. All right, and Shannon, you feel comfortable about paying off the mortgage in 2 months?
Yeah, I think Mike's very good about showing kind of where he figures out the calculations and where we're at. And I mentioned before, he's much better with finances than I am. So I feel like if he's good with it, I trust him. But yeah, I mean, I think it's also just a nice thought just to be done with it, because we have talked about it for so long, and then to suddenly feel like, oh, it could happen in a month is pretty exciting.
Awesome. Before I go further, anything you want to make sure we talk about today? I've got my list and from everything you submitted, but I want to make sure there's nothing I'm missing.
I think so.
No.
All right. On the goals discussion you had, did anything else jump out besides paying off the house in like a couple weeks?
We talked about things that we've like things that we've wanted to do, but never really wanted to spend the money on. I had brought up, in our personal discussions, like, I've always wanted to learn how to sail, so it's like, that's obviously owning a boat is very expensive and it's something we could probably do. Shannon, she grew up with horses and, it's like, hey, maybe we can get or lease a horse or something like that. Again, a very expensive thing that we would have no problem covering.
And by grew up with horses, he means my aunt had horses. I did not actually have any, but I had always wanted to. And it was funny. I was sitting there and I forget what I was doing, but he came in and was just talking to me. And I was kind of like half listening. Yeah, sure, Mike. And he was talking about money. And he's like, what if got a horse? And I just stopped, turned around and looked at him. I was like, what did you just say? Did you just make my little girl dreams come true? I don't know that we actually will do that. But yeah, we did talk about things like that, never felt like it could be a reality that maybe actually can be.
Okay, so let's do this. I want you to put, I'm going to put on the homework, figuring out the price per year for a horse and a boat.
No, we already did. Yeah.
What's the number?
What was it? 10 grand-ish for the horse, I think.
Yeah, to lead. When we talked about that, and owning a horse is a lot of work, and as much as I love them, I don't know it's something I want to do, especially because part of the reason I didn't keep up with things is I didn't really have anyone to do it with, and Mike is not really a horse guy, so I'd still be kind of on my own with that. So I don't know that that's something, but yeah, I think that was about right for leasing or a horse.
10 grand a year?
And a boat, probably 6-ish between docking and winterizing and stuff.
Yeah, I'm going 10 because we might as well match it. By the way, boats are always more expensive than you think they are. I love boats. So, any other magic things you came up with?
Nothing major. I think just little things that we talked about.
Home projects or
I mean, we talked about too. We usually do one vacation a year, but we talked about doing like kind of smaller, trips because travel was one of the things we mentioned, and maybe trying to do smaller trips in addition to our, other vacation. And
so I'm going to up your goal your goal for travel to 12 grand a year instead of 5,500. So we've doubled it.
Yeah. I mean, 5,500 was kind of a lot. We usually stay well below that, but we make the best of the trips. But I know. Yeah. Oh, like long weekend trips, we can just fly wherever. But yeah.
That's a good place to start, and I'm going to have some fun with this. All right. So this is all your money. You're bringing about $238 a year, $50,000 for expenses, $32,000 for goals, which includes the vacation, the boat, the horse. About $50,000 for taxes. That one hurts. We'll work on tax planning as separate. About $46,000 goes to the TSP and the 401k or 403b, and we got about $56,000 extra that gets saved. How's that feel?
Did you count the Roth IRA in the planned savings too?
Well, we got to be careful on that. You are right on the cutoff for the Roth IRA.
Yeah, right.
So I don't have that in there right this second because we're a little too close.
Okay.
The rule on that, by the way, is we're going to do your IRA contributions after the end of the year when we have your total income first because you're right at the cutoff. So just be careful. The other one we are going to do, I'm going to come back to say, we're going to have to do, we should be doing maxing out the HSA contribution. We're not currently doing that, but I'll come back to that in a second. General, does that feel about right? So we're bringing in 238, spending this money, and we got about 56 extra left over.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Am I missing something, or is it just
no? It's just like it's hard to gauge because like we've always put extra money towards the mortgage and stuff like that. So like we've kind of had our checking account like at the same level, and then like just the way like we save money in a separate high yield savings account for a car, and so like, instead of paying a car payment, we put money into a high yield savings account, effectively the same amount as a car payment, and then we earn the interest on that, and then we're able to buy a car outright, So it's kind of like tough to really gauge if that's. I mean, it's probably accurate.
Is the saving for the car part of your expenses, or are we counting that separate?
That is automatically withdrawn from my check. We basically have, a discretionary allotment. what is it, 600 or something like that a pay period, and that's basically a car plus a little extra savings plus our vacation fund.
So going forward, we're going to have that's part of this leftover, the net cash flow saved, the 56,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be the car, wouldn't be the travel because that's actually separate in the goals, but everything else gets saved. This I'm like projecting out years over years, and essentially we got 56,000 extra gets invested, 58, and some years a little higher, some years a little lower, depends on tax brackets and exact savings, but close enough. What ends up happening if you're on that path right now? We built this out like you two retire at 57. Why? Because that's a random number we had talked about. Like, it's good as any.
That's my minimum retirement age in the government. So.
Right. Just good number for now.
Yeah.
We don't have your government pension in here right now. So that's that math equation we got to build into here. And that one, it's a math equation. Like, there's some challenges to do the exact, well, what is it going to end up? We can do some estimates, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Even without the pension, what happens is your net worth keeps going up. So right now your net worth is about 1.05 million. If you keep it the rate you're doing, now we put in the boat, more travel, all that, you're going to die with 36 million.
Well, yeah.
That's great.
I'm not dying in 2070, or I'm dying way before then. So,
pick a year before then, you're still dying with 20, 30 million. This is my whole point of like why, like, buy a, rent a boat, house, pay off the house, the horse, I don't care. You're perfectly fine. Because here's the thing. You said giving money to the next generation is a priority. Right now, the way this is set up, the government's going to take 40% of most of that if you pass on to the next generation. So in actuality, this 36 million is a problem. It's how do I get you to spend 36 million over the next 40, 50 years?
That's what we're struggling with. I know it sounds terrible to say that, but we try, we think like daily, like, what can we do in the future, or now?
And this is where, Shannon, did you do any more thought about changing careers or anything?
Yes. I mean, and that is part of one of the things, too, that feels comforting about paying off the mortgage sooner is it feels like, okay, that leaves wiggle room for things. But I kind of have highs and lows at work, too. And right now, thankfully, I'm in, I don't want to call it really a high, but a better spot. And I don't feel as stressed at the moment. And so that's really helpful. But I mean, I am still looking for other things. Fortunately, I haven't had too much luck with it, but still looking. I mean, and again, as far as like my career goals, I know mostly what I want to do. And so I'm not just applying to anything, like I know what I want. And so if I see it, then I'll apply for a job. But
nope.
No, okay. But yeah, I don't want to just quit, I guess.
I'm okay with that. Where I'm going with this is it doesn't matter what you get paid for the next job. You want to get paid because, I don't want to work for free. That's one of the ways to spend your money. Do a job you enjoy and take less of a pay. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, the jobs that I have found that I am interested in definitely do have less pay. So we mentioned that last time too. Mike is obviously very supportive of that, which is great. It's just a matter of getting it. A lot of competition out there.
Understood. And where I'm going with this is like, hey, you want to go back to school or you want to, change careers, go to a different field, those are the options you get. Now, Michael, you're right. You're kind of a little stuck for the government side. But here's the thing. You could actually quit and not worry about the pension if you really wanted and still be okay.
Not doing that.
I know that. That's why I didn't bother.
I like my job too, so.
Well, no, but I mean, that's why I'm not going down that path because I had zero idea that would work. I want to show you something for fun. I just said, what if Shannon retires next year and you still end up dying with 17 million? Assuming you never work again in your life. The challenge here is, this is where we hit the child-free midlife crisis, is like, I can do whatever I want. What do I want to do? Shannon, what do you feel about that? Like, you could never work again.
Yeah. I mean, I still want to work. So like having a purpose to get up in the morning for and stuff. So I think it's just, and that might be part of the reason why I'm also feeling a little bit better about work right now is knowing that, okay, if it ever got to the point where I had a day where I was like, that's it, I'm done. that it's okay. You know, I don't think I'm going to. And I certainly would still just then look much harder for work, but it helps knowing that.
Yeah, this is the old school. You've got FU money. You've got enough that you can tell your job what to do with the job at any minute.
Oh, no, I was going to say we actually started a FU money list. So just between like vacation things, like I said, home projects, or what else do we have on there?
Things that we said we were like, oh, you know, it would be fun to do that we, again, just haven't done because it seemed like kind of an expense we didn't want to pay for. And just one example I could think of off the top of my head is like dinner trains, you know, in Connecticut on the kind of shoreline they have, or in New Hampshire where we go a lot, they have these trains and it's just like a nice ride and you get dinner and it's just like things like that it's like, you know, we would both enjoy it. And so, you know, we've just been kind of thinking about things like that we want to do that we just haven't done before because it costs money. So
yeah,
costs money. You can get there. Come on. If you two took $1,000 a month, spent it every month, it would not impact your finances at all. Things that cost like a couple $100. I mean, the Essex train was like $250.
We don't
for the
have
good
very expensive tastes.
Yeah.
So we're not really, you know, most of the time when we go on vacation, we camp in tents because we like it. So we're not really paying all.
And if you like it, that's fine. Like, you know, but like, you're over here going, I got this idea to spend an extra $30.
There's some higher priced item things on there.
All right, so it gets to $100, but I mean, like,
you know, there's also things, you know, certainly we could give money to charities too. You know, you don't, you know, the causes that mean something to us, but
I'm pulling up the list. A new dining room table and chairs. That could be
all right, $1,000. Like,
yeah, reframing a painting we have. That's a few hundred probably. Redo the lawn. So that's a few thousand. So just like things like that.
So what I'm hearing is we can do your entire list, buy the boat, the horse for $30,000 this year. We've checked off the entire list, and you're like, I'm good.
Yeah. I'll come up with more things, but yeah.
I think it's also really you know, it's just hard to kind of wrap your head around something when you're not used to living that way, to like think big, you know. To us, it's like the dinner train thing is like, yeah, we would never spend, you know, $60 a ticket on something because like, what, dinner is $60? You know, that's crazy. So you gotta start small.
Oh, I'm with you, and I'm having fun with it. You know, the way we look at it is we want to simplify our finances so your life can be amazing. And the question is, what makes your life amazing? And it's the small things that add up to cool stuff or down. And then it's like, well, what do I really want? So, for example, one of my luxuries, I pay somebody to come clean our house every week. You know, it's really not that much. You know, I'm in Tennessee, so it's cheaper than Connecticut, but it's $100 a week for us. And I don't have to scrub toilets. Maybe you pay somebody to take care of the lawn. I don't know. What are the things you're doing that you don't get joy out of? Do you get joy out of scrubbing toilets?
I don't want to like say yes, but I also like, I mean, I don't like, so like, you know, I work from home, you know, most days of the week. You know, I this, you know, some downtime, and I do house chores, and like, honestly, you know, like a lot of people, I'm sure, but like not many. Meditative, I guess. Like it's really kind of not really the worst thing in the world. It keeps me take a little break from work or whatever, and make the home better, I guess. I kind of don't really mind it.
I think, and there are things, you know, like we've talked about residing our house because it's an older house, and like I said, there's probably some rot behind our siding and the walls and stuff, and I think that's one thing too. I mean, because Mike's very handy and does a lot of things himself, and I think most of the time you like the accomplishment of doing it. You might not like doing the actual thing while you're doing it, but you've accomplished something pretty awesome when you do it. But to me, like, that's something, because that would, you know, for him to reside the house, you know, I'm going to help minimally with like cleaning up and stuff, but I am not a handy person. So it would take a long time. And that's something that I feel like paying someone else to do it. But, you know, I don't know how you feel about that.
That's a lot. I mean, it's just fine. We don't have to do it either. You know, it's just, I think it's just a nice to have.
And that's the type of things we should be doing.
Yeah.
20 grand to reside the house or whatever it is. It'll depending on how bad it is, and it could be expensive. But then you don't have to do it. And you can go out there and yell at people and be like, "Hey, you're messing that up." Like, you don't feel like it, Mike?
What, like resign the house or yelling at people? It's not that. Like, I certainly wouldn't mind. Like it's not just the siding. It's probably the plywood beneath it, and then the insulation's probably shot too. So it's like, now you're going all the way down there, and it's like, well, if you're at that point, we'll do the windows too. So we're probably pushing 40, 50 grand in Connecticut, if not more. Yeah.
So let's plan that for the second half of the year, because once you have no mortgage, saving up 50 grand for that project is not a big deal.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I don't think it would be realistic for this year, because there are other things I want to do too, on our list. But yeah, certainly by next year could be an option.
What's happening, by the way, is I'm trying to get you to think a little bit different about money. You're still living like you're renting ramen, like you're barely making ends meet.
Oh yeah.
What I find is the way we make changes is small ones at a time, and then like, oh yeah, we've been putting off blank. I didn't expect the train, but that's the type of thing. And I'm just trying to get you to think about, okay, what do I truly enjoy that I can do with my money versus just putting it in a bank? I mean, are you two going to get enjoyment out of seeing 17 million in the bank go to your next of kin?
I mean, that wouldn't upset me. No, it's like, if we end up doing that, then great, good for them. They'll be happy. And, if we have all this money left over anyway, we've talked about doing things like, leaving money to the land trusts in the area. There's obviously other things that could use the money. And if my family ends up getting it, then, our family, not just, I just have more nieces in it, more nibblings aren't that than Mike does. But that wouldn't make me sad. If we didn't do things we enjoyed, then maybe, but I think, again, it doesn't feel like we hold back. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's not my goal, but it wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel like our personalities, at least, like I don't really feel like we're missing out on all that much, But but like you're saying, it's like, we can experience more and those smaller steps to maybe spend more or whatever. Yeah.
Well, what happens is, you're at an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, you're happy, we're doing our thing. Figure out what goes from a 9 to a 10 out of 10 for your life. Nobody knows. It's like, I don't know what I drew. A horse gets me from 8 to 9. Cool. What gives me that last point? I don't know. And that's part of this question about, what's your legacy going to be? What's the impact you're going to give? What do you want to do? What's your purpose in life? And that's the point you're at. You've got, we get to the house paid off. You got more money you know what to do with. And if we don't put a plan, it's just going to collect in a bank account and collect zeros. And that's not necessarily bringing you joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the homework, we're going to put, I want you to think about 5, 10, either people or organizations you'd like to give to that might make an impact. And the question then becomes when. So, for example, we'll use the nibblings as an example. Chances are you can make more of an impact now in their life than when you die. We're going to work on ideas there because you do have a giving heart. So I think that's probably where we'll end up. But I want you to have a plan for what you're doing for your money and why. Just adding it to a bank account is not a why. It's just, I got it left over, I added it in. Am I guessing right that the giving might be a big part of your life in the future?
I mean, I definitely feel that way. I think, just seeing the extra money, right, and knowing that, okay, sure, there might be things we want to do. It does feel like, okay, there's definitely things that could use that. Obviously we don't need it all. So yeah, for sure.
What I want you to think about, the reason I'm asking these, kind of couple of want to give, we have to do your estate planning too, and a few other things to go with it. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to challenge you. I put 12 grand in the travel budget, which you think is crazy, but just go with me for a second. Put 12 grand. What I tend to do with people is start by having your travel budget match your giving budget. Travel for 12 and we give away 12. which could be charities, could be 529s, could be, I don't know what. So like my nephews, we each have a 529 for each of the nephews. I put money in there every month. They have a structure, something along those lines. The other part is, since you're in Connecticut, the bonus is some of those can save you taxes. So that's part of that. But what happens is a lot of people don't think about giving it to well, when I'm dead, making the land trust can get it. I'm like, well, maybe there's things you want to do in between now and then. Is there anything that jumps to your brain right now of like, hey, here's who we'd like to help or bless with something?
I mean, I feel like most, if not all of our nieces and nephews have pretty stable income streams, for college and whatnot. So I don't really know how much we could, contribute to that, Well,
but I mean, I think there are definitely things I can think of off the top of my head that, we could give to an area and in Connecticut, but nothing that we've really talked about before.
And I'm going to leave it in your homework, but let me give you an example of this for the nibblings. So how old are they?
14 to new. 14 to 1 to not born yet.
One of my clients did this. She has a fund. I love the name of it. She calls it Get the Babies to Love Me Fund. It's like just set aside. But it's intentionally set aside for either like a study abroad trip, their first car, if they have a business idea. So their college is set by their parents. But it's that one other life-changing experience in that 18 to 25 range that really can make a difference. Setting up something like that might be a way to do that. And especially if there's something so for example, travel often is be like, hey, that back trip that I did across Europe when I was 20 was huge for me. I'd like to do that for my nibblings. Something along those lines. Or another one, as I get a little older, interestingly enough, a lot of the kind of high school type age people are starting small businesses. I mean, they really are entrepreneurial, something. Cool. Best 25 grand in your first business. By the way, the likelihood you're going to get that out is pretty low, but you're giving them that chance to try that business. Now, you may get in trouble with your brothers and sisters because you're now supporting them not going to college because they're going to start a business or something, but that's just worth the fight. But how could you improve their life in a way? Now, I tried to set it up so that it's not an expectation. You don't, we don't put this all with your name on it and it's automatically yours, but you might be able to set up a structure so that when the 14-year-old becomes 21, you've got a plan. All right, hey, take the summer, go to Europe. It's on us. Something like that. How does that feel?
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. Something. Yeah.
And by the way, you don't have to do that idea, but I'm just that type of thing.
Yeah.
No, I like that idea.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is you two have an extra $50,000 or so a year. It's actually going to be more than that once you pay off the mortgage that you're going to be able to invest. What we need to test is what's the best investment. Investing in you, the stock market, giving, or others. And it's probably a little bit of all of those, but we need to figure out that. How's that feel?
Yeah, I like it.
Shannon?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to put down your homework to figure out who would you like to help out? And it could be people, it could be places, So if you pick nonprofits, then we'll get tax benefits. We pick nephews, we don't get tax benefits, but who cares? We just help them anyway. But we will put that out. So that'll also impact your estate planning. So we're going to start thinking about some of this stuff. I have a feeling if I keep poking at you to spend money on you two, you're going to come with more $100 train trips. So not moving the needle.
Probably.
I had a couple like you.
Train rides, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had somebody else, and they're like, we're going to do more board games. I'm like, $50. Got it. But it feels like a luxury because we haven't done it. And I'm going, all right, I'm trying to spend $17 million over the next 40 years. That's a lot of train rides.
Yeah.
I heard from both of you is both of you will work for most of your life because you just enjoy it. What I want to do ultimately, looking forward, is the money you earn from your job for the next 10 years or 15 years goes towards a goal. And that goal is not passing on to the next generation. It is, I don't know, saving, travel. It is giving it to nephews. I don't know what. But now you know why you're working versus just, I'm grinding out money. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, you probably got 6 or 12 months ahead of you before you actually figure any of that out. Like, like your brain is not, once you pay off the house, money it's going to be like, what? But I'm starting the discussion, because what will happen is if you don't do that discussion, you two are going to get to 50 and you're now going to have triple what you have now and be like, so what do we do with that? And it just starts becoming a bigger and bigger problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
With me that it's a problem, or do you think it's not a problem?
I feel conceptually, yes, with you. It's hard to, like you said, it's going to take time to kind of, I guess, wrap the head around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense to figure that out now, and instead of being 50 and going, well, geez, we could have done all these things with it, even if it is giving it to fill in the blank.
Right. If you look at you two at 50, most of your nibblings will be kind of like past college age. So that would have been a nice time to help them. You get to 90 and you die, your nibblings are whatever, 40, 50. They don't need that money. They're already living their life. They're in a good place. If you two got dropped $1 million today, you'd be like, thanks, but it's not going to change your life. Are you following that? Or do you don't believe me?
I mean, I'd probably buy a new house, but yeah.
Well, then maybe we make the plan to buy the new house versus fix it.
New house.
Okay.
Yeah.
My point is, if somebody, a lost uncle dies and you get $1 million at 40, it doesn't really change your life. It's going to be the same thing for your nibblings.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to solve for.
Yeah. Yeah. We thought about that too. Yeah.
We'll come back to it. All right. So let's do some homework based on what you submitted. A couple things I want to talk about. Let me share my screen here. Shannon, for your paycheck, you're putting $50 a pay period into your HSA. Mm-hmm. Is there a reason you're not maxing that out?
I hadn't, because I also get money into my HSA from work, and the amount that I have in there is more than what my deductible is. So it just, at the time when I was doing all this, it didn't feel necessary. And, knock on wood, thankfully, both of us are relatively healthy. We haven't needed more, but I can definitely understand putting it in because it is ours for life. And at some point we probably will need it more.
So here's the game on the HSA. HSA has the best tax advantage of any account. So we fill that one up first. And the reason is you get a tax break now, it grows tax-free, comes out tax-free for medical. So I actually don't want you to be using your HSA for medical expenses this year. So if you even had a deductible, you'd pay for it out of pocket instead of the HSA. Here's the reason. You can invest the money in the HSA, it grows tax-free. You never have to pay tax on it. And what you can do is keep track of your expenses from this year. So let's say you had a $1,500 expense, you paid out of pocket. You keep track, I like a little Google sheet. Hey, I have $1,500 for my ER visit, because ER visits really are that much nowadays. And what you could do is 10 years down the road, you can then reimburse yourself. It comes out tax-free. It's grown tax-free, and you got a tax break this year. What happens is if you pay out of your savings, if we take the money from your savings and put it in a high yield savings account, you're paying interest, you're getting interest on it, but you're paying taxes on that. If it grows in your HSA, it's growing tax-free, and you can take it out tax-free, and you can reimburse yourself in the future years. So what the game is you can put $8,300. How much is the company putting in? $1,000 usually or something like that?
It's just over. I want to say it's like $1,200.
Okay. So you could put $7,000 across the year and max out that HSA. Then we need to make sure that HSA is invested, because that can get invested just like your 401k, 403b, anything like that. And then that grows tax-free. It's the best tax advantage of this. You two are going to get to learn a lot about taxes, whether you want to or not. I was like, one of the few times you don't have to pay taxes. Mike, you looked at me a little weird on that.
No, I honestly, that's news to me. I didn't realize. I never had an HSA. I had no idea that they could earn in addition to what's contributed. So.
Yep, it can be invested. Shannon, what are you thinking?
Well, just a question when you say, because I know I can reimburse myself. I had to pay out of pocket and then I can pay myself back with the HSA. But when you say in future years, you can't go back, right? To like, I can't go back 3 years.
You can. So this is where you can't go back behind today. So like you started the HSA, let's say beginning of this year. I don't know. When did it start?
Like 10 years ago, probably.
Okay. You actually can go, the HSA has not been around that long, but go back to whenever the HSA started. 7 years,
whenever it started then.
Then what happens is if you've kept track of your expenses, you don't have to reimburse yourself that year. So the FSA, the flexible spending account, was the one use it or lose it that year. HSA, you can roll it over forever. And what happened is IRS came out and said, you don't have to reimburse yourself this year. But I can take the expenses from 2024. I had to think about which year we're in, like now. You got me all confused. But you can take your expenses from 2024, you put it on a list, and in 2030, you're like, I want to take that money out and reimburse myself for my expense in 2024. IRS is perfectly fine with that. You don't have to take it out the year you have the expense.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
So watch this game, all right? So Shannon goes from renting a horse, buy a horse, in 2030. Well, we've had $30,000 of medical expenses over the year. We take $30,000 out. Reimburse yourself. It's been growing tax-free. I got it out tax-free. That's your money now. You want to take that $30,000 then and put it towards the horse? That's fine. Because you reimburse yourself for the medical.
Right.
I mean,
so you'd have to keep all of, right? Because they would, I mean, if you move $30,000, right, you have to have all the receipts and everything. So you would have to hold.
You have to have a record. So here's a game on this one. Okay. Old school IRS game was you had the shoebox of receipts. You know, that's literally how you kept receipts, like a shoebox there. IRS says you have to have records. It really doesn't say what records or how organized. My recommendation to people is pay your credit card bill. You should be keeping your credit card statements anyway, because it's just good record. And if you use like a Google sheet and just keep like, hey, I paid a copay of $25 on March 21st, you've got a record. The likelihood that they're going to like go back and like, hey, let me have a copy of which doctor that was for your copay for $25 from 4 years ago, very low. But what you do is if they do, you go, okay, here's all of my credit card receipts for the year 2023. Good luck. You have all the records. It does not have to be a super crazy system. Literally just a Google sheet. I paid for medical expense for this amount. I did not reimburse myself yet. Like do a checkbox, reimbursed yes or no. Just keep a running list.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a great idea. Unfortunately, we just had a pretty high HSA withdrawal yesterday.
We have learned not to do that in the future.
Oh, yeah, $195. So.
$195 is nothing.
Yeah.
Do you know what your total HSA balance is?
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't put that in there. Yeah, I want to say it's $8 or $9 grand right now.
Okay. We are going to have a separate discussion on this. We're not going to get to it today. We are going to make sure that gets invested. So what we're going to do is probably next time, I'll have you log in your HSA. We'll look and see what the investment options are, and we'll get that invested. Because right now it's probably it's like in a savings account. If they don't offer, what you can do is the company goes into a HSA here, you go to another company, like this one I use, a Health Equity, and you can invest in all the Vanguard funds and just do it and do that. You keep like $1,000 in the one from the company, and all the rest goes over there and gets invested. You don't have to stay with the one that's with the company. There's ways to do this if they don't have the options. So we've got $9,000 that's not being invested and not growing. Well, we got to fix that, and we're going to keep maxing that out. So you're gonna have to adjust your paycheck so you put $7 grand in over the year. Mm-hmm. That'll max it out ish, close enough. Like I don't care about the last couple $100. Like close enough. I'd rather be a little under than have to like claw back money later. It's just a way to take advantage of this while you have an HSA. So the other one, when you do your open enrollment or we change jobs, I'm not seeing anything on here for disability insurance for you.
Yeah, they do offer it, and I have never done it, not thinking about that, but I remember you mentioning that on the podcast, and it was, of course, right after my open enrollment closed. So, but yeah. If
I tell somebody something, it's like 2 days after they could have made the decision. It's always that case. So Ahead. Michael, yours is going to be through the FERS, so you don't have to worry about that, but that's it. Now, Michael, I got a question for you. How old are you?
41.
Cool. Why are you investing like a 90-year-old?
That's a good question. Because I not messed up. It was my own poor judgment. And I thought there was an imminent crash coming, which never came. And I put it all to the safe fund. And then just from there, I continued to contribute in the aggressiver funds, with my paychecks.
Okay, we need to do a whole adjustment of this.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. G fund is the, old folks, 90-year-old structure.
Yeah.
Actually, interestingly enough, this would say you're 76 in the old school math because the number of bonds have been your age. We need to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I'm going to teach you never to make moves because of what you think the market's going to do.
I learned that.
What I want you to do to protect yourself, we've got the TSP funds where it might. I want you to just put it in the life cycle fund for TSP.
Okay.
It's going to prevent you from doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
I would go something like the 20. So right now it's actually in a similar 2045 fund. Go 2050, 2055, something like that. TSP funds actually have some of the lowest fees.
Yeah.
It will get more conservative as you go along. You've already lost. When did you make the change?
2018 or 19, I think. I did not make. I probably lost out on half.
Actually, the time you would have more than doubled your money.
Yeah. Yep. No, I understand. I messed up, man. Yeah. There was a time though when COVID hit, it actually dipped below what I sold at, and
I understand that.
Just an idiot.
The 3 years before COVID, it went up 96%. During COVID, it dropped 30, and then went back up to 35. It went back up. So we had probably 150% gain, probably more than that, since 2019 that we missed. So I'm going to prevent you from doing that again. We're going to put it in a life cycle fund, set it and forget it. You good with that?
Yep.
All right. And by the way, Shannon, that's your job to make sure he gets that done like in the next day or two, because you've known you've had to do this for a little while.
Yep.
All right.
Like, I always ask people, like, why we got this? And it's okay, how we got there. But your investing overall should be buy it and don't touch it until the day you need the money. Every time I try to time the market, I've tried. And you just got to get burnt once. And then you're like, yeah, that didn't work. And by the way, I'm going to tell you right now, when you move it tomorrow, the market's going to go down the day after, because that's how it works. Like, whichever day you buy, like, it's just kind of how that works. But I'm really looking at it and saying, this is going to sit here for at least another 17 years. We want to have it in the right funds. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Questions on that? I'm not trying to beat you up on it, but I just like.
No. Yeah. I know. I know I messed up, and I'm just still waiting it out, and I know I shouldn't, and I still do. So,
So if you actually look at what financial planners do for people, the actual money is in watching out for these mistakes. Because everybody's like, oh, I've already got the money. It'll go back up. No. The actual worst thing that can happen to you is if you time the market and you hit it right. Because then you think you can do it forever. I had somebody that did that. He timed the market, hit oil right. He bought in when oil was low. It went through the roof. Cool. Made a bunch of money. And I'm like, pull it out. So he pulls it out. He's like, well, now I got to wait for the next thing to hit. And years later, he's sitting in cash because he hasn't made a move. Now you lost a couple of years of that gain. It's kind of like, if you get burnt once, you won't do it again. If it actually went your way, they're like, I'm a genius, see? The hard part is you have to be a genius 3 times. You have to time when to get out, in, and then back out again. And I don't know anyone that can do that. Shannon, it's okay. You give Mike a big hug. You were like, what?
So she doesn't like aggressive investing at all, right? She was always afraid, we're not going to have any money, if we put it in a SRI fund and the TSP. But it's it'll go back,
I just things like that kind of finance stuff, it's just like over my head. And so because I don't really understand it, it makes me nervous. And I'm like, no, just put it in a nice, safe little savings where you put it in and nobody can touch it. So you don't gain anything, but you don't lose anything either. But I don't like my 403B is whatever
I think that
was decided for me. Like I just put in my percentage and let them do it for me because I just don't understand it.
We're going to be having a bunch of discussions around investing. This is just an obvious one that like we shouldn't be investing like a 90-year-old. So the problem is where he's at in the G funds. So that's earning 5% or so, give or take. Inflation's been a whole lot more than that lately. So the purchasing power is actually less. So what happens, Shannon, is like, oh, let me just put in a savings account. Awesome idea. It's not going to go down. Be able to buy less horses with it. I will tell you. So when you want to die with zero, you actually have two options. One, we could actually follow and invest like a 90-year-old because if it doesn't go up, I'm okay. Like seriously. The other option is we could swing for the fences because if it goes up and down, doesn't matter either. What happens is pick a path, whichever one you want to do. And what happens is with Mike, you're going to get the pension. Is that the percentage of your top three? Is that how they structure that?
Yep.
Probably what? 60% at your 17 year?
No. It's a year or up 1% per year service, I think. Unless you retire at like 62 and then it's 1.1 years. Or
how many years are you going to have in?
I'll be at 57. I'll have 37 years. So
okay. About 40% of your salary, your top 3 years, for the rest of your life. You two are not expending 40% of your salaries now. So here's the thing, Shannon. His pension have you two covered for the rest of your life.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
No, this is the game.
Yeah.
So if your pension is there, by the way, think about your pension as just fixed income savings account. The risk is the government doesn't pay you, but like if the government does not pay their pensions at the federal level, we're all screwed anyway. Like, I mean, like if that's the case, then we just stock up on guns and ammo. Like, I mean, it's one of those worlds. No, I mean, that's like Connecticut actually for a while had some issues where they might not have paid their pension. Illinois had the same thing. They've now shored up both. A little more risky. The federal government, if they're not paying their pension, we got a huge problem. So you two will have that pension for life. We're going to end up, I'll get back to it, we're going to end up putting your Social Security off till 70. So you're going to end up with 3 guaranteed incomes, both your Social Securities plus the pension. The way you two spend money, if you guys are getting 37% of Mike's pension, that covers every penny of your expenses. You need to take more risk with your investments because you can. What do you think about that, Shannon?
I mean, it's, just the thought of it, I don't know why, because again, I don't really understand the, market, whatever. So I don't know why it makes me nervous, but the fact that, I guess I just put my faith in people who know more than me, being you and Mike. So, you do it for a living. If you say it, then I believe it.
I'm not going to buy that. We're going to come back to that. I'm putting that on the list because I'm going to help you understand investments. I am not going to let you just trust Mike and I.
Okay.
All right.
Fair.
And also compare you and me on finances. So
our rule is you only invest in things you understand. Okay. If you don't understand it, I'll make you sit in cash because you understand that until you understand the investments. Because the problem is if you just start following anyone blindly, you don't have a plan. Okay. And that's where we get the Madoffs of the world that can, screw people over. I mean, it just is.
That's true. Yeah.
We follow a simple long-term passive investment. We invest in the entire U.S., the entire world, and some bonds, set it and forget it. Why? Because I know if I'm buying the whole stock market, it's all going to go up or it's all going to go down. I don't have a risk. If I invest it all in one company, I'm not going to use names intentionally here, and that company puts out a tweet and their stock falls by 20%, which we've seen frequently, I can't plan on that. So what we're going to do is, Shannon, you and I we're going to spend some quality time so you understand enough so you feel comfortable with it. Behind though, what I want you to be thinking about, you got a guaranteed income. So you're allowed to take a bit more chances.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one of those things. For the next time, I'm also going to send you, as part of the homework, let me share my screen one time. We'll get more into the investments. I just had to talk about the TSP thing, and it makes perfectly sense why you got there, but I just couldn't let it sit. This is the Right Capital. This is our financial planning software. You have access to this now. We'll send you a link to it. But what I want you to do is under profile, this is where your net worth is, all your accounts. You can link your accounts here. And we're going to put a link. Rob can help you actually link it if you have any trouble. And that allows us to get a real-time feed. I'm going to be transparent. We only see stuff. We can only read it. We can't make any changes. So like, for example, right now we have your Roth, but I don't know what it's invested in or things like that. So we'll actually connect the accounts and you'll be able to look at this in real time. What I'm going to teach you to do is use this net worth as your true north of like, hey, am I doing well? Where am I going? Because what will happen is like your mortgage will go down in time and it'll all work out. It'll all be automated. We'll actually be able to build this in here. This has your net worth, taxes. This is a likelihood. This is actually saying right now, when you're 90, you have somewhere between 15 and $40 million. So we'll be able to actually track it out. But we're going to build all your investments in there. We're also going to be able to, we're going to do a whole bunch of work on taxes. This looks at your tax rate over years, and we're going to make some changes. So for example, we're going to have a discussion. We might come back to your TSP and your 403B and actually put that as a Roth contribution versus traditional. We'll come back to that discussion as part of the taxes. We're going to look at a plan overall. We're going to look at the IRAs, everything. We'll build that out. But I'm trying to give you like pieces at a time. Now, here's the thing. A lot of this stuff in here is about getting you more money, which we started with like, you've got too much at the end. So like, I'm going to get you more money, but I need you to have a better solution for what to do with it. Like, if I'm just getting you more money and you got nothing to do with it.
If you enjoyed the show, please consider leaving a rating or review. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Please let us know your thoughts wherever comments are available or email us at media@childfreewealth.com. To stay up to date, find and follow Childfree Wealth on social media. If you're interested in working with us, learn more by visiting our website, childfreewealth.com. We'll see you next time.